Hey, what's going on guys, it's Anson here. So we're back with a brand new video, and I'm going to show you guys how to return the user details from your GraphQL API. Now the first thing we need to do is we need to actually redirect our user to the GraphQL API, so the port 3001, because right now our React app is at port 3000 and our API is at port 3001, but we need to make sure that we're logged in, because if we try to make requests, it's not going to know who's making those requests. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our backend code inside auth.js, and we're just going to change this to port 3001. Okay, so right now if I open up my applications tab over here in the dev console, you'll see I don't have a cookie. Now if I log in, it's going to redirect me to port 3001, and it should set the cookie for us because we are on that domain. So that's perfectly fine. Okay, so that's good. That's all we need to do was just set the cookie. Now if I make requests now, it will actually tell us who's making the request. Okay, now we're not done yet, so I'm going to go ahead and exit this out. One thing that I also want you guys to do, I mean this is up to you, but I would recommend doing this, is getting rid of the guilds field from your user schema, because we no longer need it. Remember, all this data over here is going to be stale, and we already use the access token to fetch the new data from the Discord API, the new guilds data. So we no longer need it, so you can just get rid of that, and you can delete the record from your database if you want to, and then relog in, or just delete the individual field. It should be fine, but we don't need guilds anymore. Okay, and I would recommend just dropping your user record and then re-logging in again, just to be safe in case you guys have any issues. So just make sure you do that, so you shouldn't get any issues. You don't have to drop everything, just make sure you drop the users, and that should be more than enough. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go inside our root query inside index.js into the GraphQL folder, and let's pass in a third parameter called request. Okay, so let me go ahead and console log request, just to show you guys what is actually going to be logged in the console. So let's open up our GraphQL, and if I go back here, you can see that we have the request object being logged. So theoretically, we should be able to access the session, we can access the user object, right? So let's take a look at that real quick. So let's click on play, but you're going to notice that it actually says undefined. Now why is it saying undefined? We are logged in. Okay, now this would be an issue if you aren't logged in, but the problem is we are logged in, so why is that not logging? Well, it has to do with the order that we had registered our GraphQL middleware. We initialize session after we initialize GraphQL, so we need to actually take this and then we're going to move it right after app.use session and then passport. Okay, so middleware order is very important, so we just have to move that down here. Okay, it registers the GraphQL middleware first and then the register session, so that's why it's not picking it up. So we need to register session first and then register GraphQL. If you ever get any issues with logging in, or like your sessions are undefined or something, double check your middleware order. Now if I hit play, you can see that now I actually do have all of the data. Okay, this is the request object right over here. Roll right over here. Okay, now I'm not sure why it's returning the guilds though. Oh, you know what it is actually? I need to go into strategies, and I think somewhere inside here we are trying to save the guilds. So I'm gonna get rid of that because I don't need the guilds anymore. So I don't know if Mongoose throws an error for that if we don't actually do anything with the guilds, but I'm just gonna get rid of that because we don't need it anymore. Okay, we don't want the guilds anywhere in our data. I mean, we don't want the guilds in our database. I mean, you can have it there, but it's totally up to you. So let me actually go ahead and do one thing. So I still have the guilds record. I'm gonna go ahead and drop the users, and I'm gonna drop the OAuth 2 credentials. I'm gonna go ahead and re-log in again. Okay, perfect. If I refresh the database, I should see my credentials and my user, and you can see the user object does not have the guilds anymore. Good, that's exactly what I wanted. And if I hit play, you can see that we don't have the guilds anymore. Okay, now how do we actually get the guilds? Well, we'll worry about that later because we've already done that in previous videos, so it's just going to be another function call. But what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and go inside this root query, inside this get user, and inside the resolve function, we're going to go ahead and do this. So let's do this. Return request dot user. So if the user object is truthy, then we shall just return request dot user or null. Okay, so yes, we actually don't really need to search the database because we already have the middleware taking care of serializing the user for us, which is really cool. So all we need to do is just return request.user. Now it's still going to call this guild resolver function. Remember, we're not done yet. Once we have returned here, it doesn't actually return back immediately to the GraphQL server. It's going to call this resolver function. Okay, we're not done yet. We actually still need to get the data from over here, this child resolver function. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, it's actually fairly simple. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to take in the request object here as well, and we're going to go ahead and make an API call. So we can actually go over to api.js, and if you look over here, we have this get user guilds function already. So we actually don't even need to write any more code because we wrote this function already. That function is going to make the external API call to the Discord API, and it's going to give us all of the users guilds, okay, the logged in users guilds. So we just need to do return get user guilds. So this is going to auto import, or it should auto import. Not sure why it's not auto importing, but it should auto import. I'll need to import it in case it doesn't, because I don't want to get an error. API. All right, and then we're gonna pass in request.user.discord ID. Okay, now we should actually do this because there's a chance that they could try to make a request to only this thing. Okay, but let me actually do this. Return request.user or null. Okay, just to make sure, and let's hit play. So that took a little bit, but you can see that we have all of the guilds that we're in, and I can ask for whatever I want. Let me zoom in a little bit. So I can ask for the icon, permissions, features, okay? And that's pretty straightforward. Okay, hopefully all of this made sense. Okay, this is how you can return all the data. Now the question is, how do we actually get this data to the front end? How do we actually get it to our React application? Well, we're going to need to use something called Apollo Server, okay? But we're not going to worry so much about that for the next couple videos. So I'm going to end this video right here. In the next video, I'm going to set up the other routes, or I'm going to set up the other queries, okay? And then when we get into the front end, we're going to go ahead and download Apollo client for React, and then that's where we're going to make all of our queries to the actual GraphQL server. So hopefully this video helped you guys out, and that's pretty much it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.